Hello, I'm journalist Danielle Dreilinger, author of The Secret History of Home Economics, and we are here to talk about very possibly the most influential, impressive, and inspiring student ever to walk these halls, Dr. Flemmie Pansy Kittrell.
Nobody would have looked at Kittrell's childhood and imagined that she would become a leader in child development, nutrition, women's education, international peace, and anti poverty movements. She was born in 1904 to sharecroppers in Henderson, North Carolina, a small farming town. She was the eighth of nine children, and she hated doing farm work but loved school. When she was still a teenager, she went to Virginia and worked her way through high school and college at Hampton. She was interested in political science, not home economics. The home was so boring you knew about it anyway, she thought. But she changed her mind when a teacher gave her a copy of the 1912 biography of Ellen Swallow Richards. She graduated in 1928 and applied to Cornell, where she wanted to study part-time while she worked as a professor at Bennett College.
Now, this was very unusual. It was the height of Jim Crow. There were no Southern universities that would grant graduate degrees to Black women. That's why Flemmie Kittrell went to Cornell. In home economics, in education, in the country as a whole, Black women were both foundational and marginalized. Hampton was the first college to offer a home economics course before even the land grant universities. And yet, Black women from the South could not be members of the American Home Economics Association for decades.
Despite the prejudice, between 1925 and 1933, at least 41 Black women earned master's degrees in home economics, including Flemmie Kittrell. She stood out at Cornell for her merits. Flora Rose thought that she had a real contribution to make to the field. She was focused, dedicated, and determined. The university and several foundations funded her studies. At Cornell, you really see the germ of her life's work. Her professors believed that rural communities around the world had more commonalities than differences, and that bringing those communities together made everyone stronger. They believed that mitigating hunger calmed political strife, and that you could change society through the family. And Kittrell did too. She did her graduate work on malnutrition and infant mortality among poor Black communities in the South. And in 1936, Flemmie Kittrell became the first Black woman to earn a Ph.D. from Cornell and the first Black nutrition doctorate in the country.
Kittrell continued as Dean of Women at Bennett College, then became Home Economics Dean at her alma mater, Hampton. At the end of World War II, she moved to Washington, D.C. to run home economics at Howard University. And it's at that point that she really hit her stride. It started in 1946 when she boarded a plane to take a 30-hour journey for a 6-month trip in Liberia for the State Department to help schools teach nutrition and to conduct the first full-scale nutritional survey of a foreign country.
In Liberia, she traveled, she wrote, by foot, hammock, native dugout boats, motorboats, canoes, and plane. Authorities told her not to get too familiar with the indigenous peoples. Kittrell brushed off the advice, saying, "I know how to treat people." She helped schools improve how they taught nutrition and conducted the first ever nutritional survey of a foreign country. In gratitude, the Liberian government gave her an award for service to the country. And this was just the first of many, many trips abroad. The girl from Henderson, North Carolina, became a citizen of the world. The work fed her political science hunger while helping with physical hunger as well. To give just an example, in 8 weeks of 1958, she went to Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, Ghana, and Liberia. In India, she helped found the University of Baroda's Home Economics College as one of the first home economics Fulbright scholars. She worked under the auspices of the United Nations, the Methodist Church, the American Home Economics Association, the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, the Ford Foundation, and the U.S. government's Point 4 program, just to name a few. And she did this all while expanding home economics at Howard and helping found Head Start, the Johnson administration's preschool program for low-income families. She conducted some of its pilot nutrition studies and a nursery school and trained Head Start workers. And because of her own background, she brought a real compassion and respect for the participants in the program.
We would not like to have the children who have been deprived feel that they are a separate group. And if they are separate, we do not want them to learn to feel that they are different, because they're not different. If they can get a good, enriched program now, they will be in a good position in the fall to really do what the program says, have a head start.
It all made Kittrell a hero in home economics and beyond. She was not only the most prominent African American home economist in the history of the profession, but one of the field's most famous leaders, period.
So I'm going to close by talking a little about activism. Now, the conventional wisdom on Dr. Kittrell was that she worked for civil rights and racial equality tacitly, quietly, by putting her head down and getting her work done. She knew that it was a political statement in itself for her as a Black woman to be a successful scholar and international consultant. And she spoke proudly about the American way at home and abroad. But she also did, in fact, conduct some real overt political activism. She worked in interracial peace organizations. She met the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife, Coretta Scott King. She said that colonial rule in Africa had to end. She participated in a flyover from Zambia to Namibia with the leader of the Congress of Racial Equality in the 60s to protest South African expansionism. And she took a politically sensitive trip to South Africa at the same time and viewed apartheid firsthand. She met Bantu miners. She spoke politely but firmly when the embassy staff tried to make her use the back door. She said, "No, I don't think I need to use the back door." And then the time came for her to leave.
And so when I left, these Afrikaners who were escorts for me, gave me a gift, beautiful gift. And they said, "We want to thank you for coming to our country. We have enjoyed your presence among us, and we hope you have enjoyed yourself." And then, Mary, I had to speak up, and I said, "Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for your courtesy in presenting me this gift. But you know, I have never been so unhappy that I am now to think that you think this is the way of life for the African people. May God bless you in the years ahead." And I left. And so the American Embassy was very pleased the way I behaved and what I said, because what I said, I had to say it. You just couldn't quite watch that. But it was very serious.
Dr. Kittrell officially retired from Howard in the mid 1970s, but she continued working all around the world. When she died of a heart attack in 1980, she was in the middle of a business meeting, and she had an application for yet another Fulbright scholarship on the administrator's desk. He would have approved it, he said, despite her age, because of who she was. So, to celebrate this college that was founded by women, that has been supported by women and helped so many women change the world, let's end with Dr. Kittrell herself talking about the importance of improving the status of women.
The status of women and girls in West Africa gives one great concern. Their position as a group is hard, and until greater opportunities are open for participation in civic, church, and educational life, progress will be exceedingly slow. The progress and status of any country can easily be measured and gauged by the status that women have achieved. The saying, when you educate a man, you educate an individual, but when you educate a woman, you educate a family, is so true here.